In the Champions League, that our form dropped in the Premier League, and that happens sometimes. But Newcastle is such an informed side, and we've lost 3 games to this year. And the manager's message before the game was clear. Take it personal, and I think we did today. I think first half it's a bit of a slow start, but we grew into the game, and in the end we showed that grit. And 3 points at home last day. It was a nice day to top it off.
When you've had that moment where, as you say, you've dropped and maybe your focus has gone on the Champions League, how hard does it then become to pick it up and try and regain your top level?
Listen, we're Premier League footballers. We have to be at the level every single week. It was that we felt like we had such a good chance in the Champions League that obviously we had the momentum with that, and obviously with the league it kind of slipped away a few weeks ago. So it was really tough to take, but today to win was massive, and obviously Newcastle is such a good side, so to win was a big win for us.
I mean, you've always had the odd long-range goal in your locker, but it's sort of turned out in the last month or so that you're very good at shooting. It's another great finish.
And about time I started scoring frequently.
That's 9 goals, 10 assists, your best numbers in both.
Yeah, I like that finish a lot, where I can whip it on top of the ball across the keeper, and it was a special moment. I'm really, really happy.
Last one then, because the thank you banner for the fans is out behind us. How do you reflect on this season, Declan?
Difficult, really difficult. After coming so close last year in the Prem, this year we was, by our standards, poor, let's be real. And obviously to go out of every other cup competition and Champions League, with the team we've got, the manager we've got, we need to be competing for titles. We can't be taking anything for granted. And but next year we'll be back for more. Hopefully, we strengthen in the summer. We sign more players, because we're probably going to lose a few as well. So, yeah, we're going to come back next year, be ready, be stronger, and even more hungry to win something for this club. And that's what we all want.
Well done.
Played well and always speaks well. Declan Wright, today's match winner, as he was discussing with his 9th goal of the season. His best goal-scoring season continues, just one away from double figures. Where would they be without Declan Rice?
Well, we really struggle. I thought his interview at the end there, Steve, was very good, very honest, very concise in what he's saying. Because the disappointment's there for everyone to see, because we've had another good go in the league. But like he said, we kind of took our eye off the league, trying to get the Champions League. And I think when you look back at the draws that we've had and the 21 points, I think something like 21 points from winning position that we've lost. Steve, that you can't. I don't think you can do that when you're trying to win the league, and even when you're trying to go for the Champions League. You can still play half decent in the Champions League and get there, but like in the league, you can't step off at all. And I think that those draws in the end, with some of the decisions, with the injuries, of course, it kind of factors in. But I think that listening to Declan saying that we go again next year, some people will go in the summer, which I know will happen, and some people will come. It's just going to be a vitally important summer for us this summer coming.
Yeah, 14 draws this season, which is their most ever in a 38-game season, Arsenal.
And that sort of strikes me as we talk about a focal point in the team and a out-and-out striker who's going to get you goals, who makes a difference between a point and 3 points. I mean, Wright is up next to one of the best strikers in the Premier League, so he would know that. They create some great chances. And even a couple of times we're watching the game off air, a Trossard or whoever, Martinelli is wide. They don't even cross it because the natural number 9's not in the box. Do you know what I mean? Someone who gives them that focal. I know Havertz came off the bench, which is a positive, but again, he's not an out-and-out striker. I think, watch this space. They have to sign a number 9 in the summer, and I'm sure Arteta will.
Yeah, we'll come back to that in a moment. But Declan talking there about how he likes that finish. It was a lovely finish, wasn't it, after Anthony Gordon had lost the ball?
Again, he made it look quite simple, but again, it was good. It's much better closing down. You can see them in and around. So as soon as he loses it, I was really pleased for Martin Odegaard, because I believe he picks him out here. But Declan's coming onto it perfectly. You see, it's almost like a short backlift, because what you need to do is, like he said, you want to hit a top bit and really whip across the ball, and you can see it there with the 2 midfielders from Newcastle, how they've vacated that space, and now Declan with Harvey Barnes there, he should be getting tighter to him. But once he comes onto it, he's leaning over it, and Stephen, watch how he whips his leg. Watch how he whips it there. See, it doesn't even go past him. He's just like almost stops in the strike when you watch it, and that is what he gets the power in the whip. There, what, you see the stop? Wham! So he doesn't even look, there it is. Brilliant goal, and that's just great technique.
It's difficult for a keeper as well, Steve, because you're set, he can go either way there. And it's just as Righty said that last bit, the way he whips it, you're set and you think you maybe go near post, but the whip as well gets some extra power, and it's always leaving, Pope, he can't get there. It's a brilliant finish. We're just looking at the back 3 of Newcastle, I'm just looking at the defensive side of it. we think they can maybe press the ball. When Odegaard pulls it back to Rice, I think the centre halves have to come flying at him. Of course, Harvey Barnes switches off as well. He's more an offensive player. He doesn't have that defensive mindset. It's a poor goal for Newcastle, but take nothing away from Declan Rice in the finish. It's a brilliant finish.
Yeah, and it came, as it said, with Anthony Gordon having possession of the ball.
Yeah, Anthony was quiet today. Actually looked a bit leggy. I mean, Wright mentioned about players coming to this part of the season. They've had a long season. He looked a bit leggy at times, and again, he gave it away in a really dangerous area. We look at you mentioned the two midfielders, Bruno Guimaraes and of course Sandro Tonali are dragged over to that side. To give you balance in midfield, one of them should actually be in that space, covering where Rice is going to sort of latch onto. And again, we highlight Harvey Barnes here. He likes to get forward. He's no intention of getting back into defend, and he sort of jogs back into position. And Declan Rice's eyes just light up, don't they, when he sees that space? There's no one anywhere near him. But again, I think the centre halves at that point, when they see there's no one there, someone has to come flying out, ready, doesn't try and get the block.
Because you need someone right in Declan's face, because like you rightly say there, the goalkeeper, he can go either way, because he's coming onto it this way, Steve. He can whip it there, or he can, like you saw, whip it quickly back inside himself. But if you've got a defender in front of you, the worst ways is that it might hit the defender. He might miss kick it. He might go the other way. You need someone in the way so as it can distract you from trying to, trying to whip it in that way or whip that. You need the goalie needs somebody in the way to block it.
9 goals and 10 assists now this season for Declan Rice. Champions League football guaranteed.
Quarters not quite the trophy you wanted to bring them. As you stand here now, how do you reflect on what you have achieved?
Well, we're clearly very disappointed because we wanted to be here with the Premier League or the Champions League, and it's not the case. But chasing a dream has its ups and downs, but as well make sure, as I said, that doesn't get blurry and doesn't get recognized what we've done. Because any other team, and I've seen it with one injury too, finishing 8th, 5th, 16th, 17th, what his team has done, in my opinion, to sustain the level throughout the season with everything that happened is incredible. We don't want anybody to value, but me as a manager, I have to value what these guys have done.
I think it's your 11th season as an Arsenal man, player and manager. Has this one tested you more than any other?
Yeah, and probably I'm more proud. Because of the culture that we set, because of the standards and the mindset that we have set at this football club, that regardless what happens, you have to seek for the best and do your best, and that's certainly what we've done.
I think the team were 10th, and maybe the club had lost the sense of itself when you were appointed Arsenal manager. It's kind of interesting now that you come second, get to a Champions League semi-final, and it's to mixed reviews, even from yourselves. You're your own harshest critic.
But that's fine. I think if you raise the expectation, that's what is coming. But make sure that it's with realism and analyzing properly what you have. Because we are there, nobody wants us to be there. We've been there now for 3-4 seasons, and they're going to want to take us from there, and that's going to be difficult.
How big is the period of analysis that's ahead for you, Mikel? Obviously, a lot of focus on the injuries, and you have had it tough. A lot of focus on the red cards, but I guess from your point of view, the analysis will be thorough and maybe have to be uncomfortable in places.
Yeah, like always, nothing different to any season.
How big is the summer ahead then, Mikel? You're the guy, you know exactly what they need.
Finish the season, go to the beach, enjoy a few days, and make sure the ones upstairs, they do what they have to do.
Enjoy. See you soon.
Righty. Is that relief? Is that the main thing? People were talking about a scenario, you and I on the show a couple of weeks ago, where if that form had continued, the unthinkable of, after all the efforts, not guaranteeing Champions League football.
Yeah, obviously, it's just like it's scant consolation for how tough the season's been for us.
But it's very important for the club, though.
Absolutely. I was going to say, it's a necessity for the club and what they're trying to do. Obviously, they want to win the Premier League, they want to win the Champions League, and I think at the moment the squad is nowhere near deep enough to actually go into both of those with the confidence of winning them. But they've another good go in the Premier League, and they gave it a great go in the Champions League. So, like Declan mentioned there about the summer, I think it's going to be quite important this summer. Andrea Berta's got a lot of work to do in respect of bringing in, whether it's the striker or a forward or defender, whatever he's bringing in, to try and bolt onto this team, because the last step is the most difficult step to take, and it seems like we're just having problems taking the last step, whether it's injuries or, decisions go against you early on, whatever it is, dropping too many points from winning positions. Those things happen in the season, and what you've got to do is you've got to try and limit those so as then you can continue to move forward. So you know, it's tough. It's a tough season to take, but you will take being in the Champions League. You absolutely have to take it.
Is it fascinating to see how Arsenal operate now? New sporting director with money to spend, where and how they go about strengthening.
Well, it's a big summer, I think, for Arsenal. I really do. I think it's, you know, they're falling off a wee bit. The title race, obviously, that Liverpool had done a few weeks ago, didn't they? I think that'll hurt Arteta, that they didn't run it all the way to the wire. I think that'll be a thing. But again, a new sporting director, he'll want to make his mark on the football club in the summer. And I think there is spaces to be filled in that squad. Where they're going to be, I mean, the striker for me is the obvious one. You know, talking about
That's the hardest one.
Zubimendi perhaps coming in as well. I mean, Raya's done brilliant. Both centre halves are a necessity to keep hold of them as well. It's about keeping hold of some of your best players as well, not letting them go. But again, it's going to be an interesting summer what Arteta and the powers that be do.
And we've touched on this before with the centre forward, that with the money it's going to cost them, whoever they might get, the percentage chance of getting it right has to be high, doesn't it?
It does. This is why, again, the experience of Andrea Berta is going to come in, because we've seen strikers come in for 60-odd million, 70-odd million, 85 million, and it not work. So you are taking a chance, and I think that Arsenal will have to take a chance. I think it's going to cost them a lot of money, and I'm not sure that the person that they get, the player that they get, is going to be under pressure. Let's face it, everybody. We're talking about 7 years. Arsenal having a striker, I think it's Aubameyang. So this striker is coming in with everybody continually talking about Arsenal needing a striker for the last few years, which you have to say, yeah, they probably would have won a few more games with an out-and-out striker. But it's something that we've had to deal with, and hopefully, like I say, in the summer, we can get somebody that is not just potential, but is gonna hit the ground running, because I think that's what Arsenal need now.
Yeah, I'm fascinated in not obviously just his numbers, his goal scoring record, his talent, but mentality-wise, because whoever they get will be a player the fans have craved for 6-7 years.
Yeah.
That's some weight to carry on your shoulders, isn't it?
But you know, the thing is, as a striker though, Steve, when you're coming in, you know that your main responsibility is to score goals. So I don't think if you're going to get the right calibre of player, he's going to come in thinking, oh my gosh, this club is desperate for a striker, I have to strive to hit. You're just going to come in, and the chances that Arsenal create, and we've seen it for years now, and chances missed, because there's not an out-and-out goal scorer. If you get the right-minded striker that comes to Arsenal, he will be licking his lips with the amount of chances that he can get. And so then you get that player, he'll come in and he will score goals. So it won't be a problem for him to come in and feel the pressure of that, because Arsenal are capable of creating chances for that kind of striker to take. And that's what you want. You want a striker who's ready to go.
I was just going to ask Ian about, would you prefer a striker that's played in the Premier League already, like proven in the Premier League, or is it a risk to bring someone from abroad?
I think it's probably I think it's a risk, whatever happens.
What would you go for?
I'd probably... No, I go for the quality. The quality and the amount of goals that they are capable of scoring. Depending on the team that they're playing for, how many chances the team make, how many half chances can they take, good left foot, good right foot, can they run? You know, you want somebody who is hitting the target regularly, frequently. That's what you look for more than anything else, because then you've got a team like Arsenal who can create chances. You give it to that person who can hit the target. You know, then you're probably going to get some goals there, because that's what I think we need. We're not a million miles away.
Okay.
He's put the heart back in the club. You know, the fans are here. They turn up every week again. They're not far away. They need a centre forward. You know, a couple of injuries here and there. I know people go, oh yeah, but everybody has injuries. No, they don't. Not to key players. You know, I always say it, if you took Salah and Van Dijk out of that Liverpool team, believe me, that is not winning the league if they're out for a long period of time. And that's what's happened. Saka's a big player for them. You know, big players. You know, him, Havertz. People have a go at him. He's a big player. You know, when he hasn't been playing, he's been missed. You know, they need a couple more players. You know, I hope he doesn't end up like Wenger did many years into his reign, when everybody in the world knew he needed a centre-half and he never went and bought a centre-half. You know, I hope that isn't the case. They need a centre-forward to start with, and they need backup in good positions, because at the moment, when they make changes, it weakens the team. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. You look at... Liverpool have won the league because players score goals up front. They've got 5 players that can nick you a goal here and there. at Arsenal, the front three are not real natural goal scorers. You know, that I'd be surprised if they put together, if they got more goals than Salah, the front three.
He has said, Mikel Arteta, that he and Andrea Berta and the board are aligned on transfer policy, and they're looking at a summer of bringing players in for Arsenal. On the elements that they can control, do you think, and Arteta's mentioned it again this week about injuries and red cards, do you think from a kind of overarching perspective at the club, they can look at those as things that, to a certain extent, Les, they can control a bit more?
You know, you have to look at the injuries, the state of the injuries that they're getting. If people are getting the same injuries and you're doing something wrong in training, you know, the point you made about they need a centre forward, I think they've been saying that for a few years now. Arsenal, that you need a centre forward. So this is not last year's problem. This is the year before's problem, and you still haven't solved it. You know, I find it hard to understand where you've got a Lewis Skelly and you've got Ranieri, who young players coming through the system, but you don't have a centre forward at Arsenal that can go in and play 3 or 4 games and might get a run like they've had.
They sold the Ladlers, didn't they, to Man United? The young kid went to Man United. He went to Man. I think they had big hopes for him, and he chose to go Man United instead. I mean, but you're still right. I still think it's not just one centre forward. I think they need to. There's a saying in life: you keep on doing the same things, you get over and over again, you get the same results. It's insanity. If they keep on doing it again next year, then it's madness.
And you look at this Arsenal side now, and it's disappointment here tonight. You know, they finished second in the league, and instead of being happy, it feels dead. It feels there's not that level of excitement. This Arsenal side this season was expected to win something, and they haven't done that this year.
I think you're right, Les, and as well, I agree with what you're saying, Paul. There is progression in a lot of aspects, but I've no doubt that Arsenal and Arsenal fans and the manager will look at it as this is the big miss. This was the biggest miss of all, because Manchester City have lost 9 matches this season. And for you, at the start of the year, if someone said that was going to happen, if it was only one contender, it has to be Arsenal. And for them to not be as close to Liverpool as what they've been, to some of the performances haven't been good enough, over-reliant on set pieces, not enough quality at times, and Paul's right, they need a killer in front of goal. The only one that you would say that's going clean through on goal that you'd really want to take that opportunity would be Bukayo Saka. Apart from that, everyone else doesn't really, are they clinical finishers? And that's been a difference. Liverpool have 4 of them. So that would be an area certainly is going to strengthen. It looks like they're going to be getting Gyökeres from Sporting. Who knows how he's going to do? He's obviously got a lot of qualities. He was at Brighton, then he went to Coventry. He's done really well at Sporting. That's an area they're going to try to address. But no doubt at all, you can dress this up as a real positive if you want. Say second again, it's not good enough this season. This will be the big miss for him, because Man City in other years have been so good.
Yeah, but disrespectful to Liverpool. Liverpool are a good team. This team are not coming from nowhere. Do you know what I mean? Liverpool should have won the league last year. You know, they were in the box seat. You know, they get beat at home to Crystal Palace, and it went then. You know, they're a good team. It's not like they've won it on.
I've said that
but it's not like they've won it on 60 or 70 points. They've been brilliant.
But to not be as close to them, that's what I'm saying, Paul. But I'm not supposed to.
It's very hard, though, James. When you get it's very hard when you're juggling Champions League and that. You know, they had that big game against Real Madrid.
Yeah, so Liverpool.
Yeah, Liverpool went out. You know, but they'd already. Arsenal were chasing them at the time, and then they sort of threw their eggs into one basket, and then it was PSG, because you're thinking they beat PSG, they're going to win the Champions League. You know, just beat Real Madrid, but Real Madrid wasn't as good as what everybody thought they were, and I think that's the thing. And this problem is with this Arsenal team is, it's all right. I'm saying, and I'm trying to back them up and say, you know, they're a good team. But you've got to win something. It's not easy. Every time it gets to like latter stages, they go. And I know people go, oh, they were ruthless last year and they just put their foot wrong once against Villa. But they did put their foot wrong. You know, all they had to do was be patient and win that game. I was here that day and they lost the game, and Man City went perfect. But again, today, you know, last week, you know, next year they might have to go and beat Liverpool away and beat Newcastle at home. And it just, I don't know, it's not as easy as what people think to keep on to win something, and they keep on falling short, and sometimes people fall short. You know, it becomes normal. Do you know what I mean? It becomes natural. It's hard, and that would be my worry. I think Arteta's got till Christmas, till everybody starts. I mean, they will have to be in the top 2 at Christmas to keep on going.
You think he's got to win something next season?
Yeah, I think next season. I think 4. Do you know what I mean? I think if you get to 4 and then no, you know, you can't, because everybody wants to play for Arsenal. People will come to Arsenal, so it's not like they're stretching to get players, and they've got the money. For me, yeah, next year he's got to be in the top 2 by Christmas.
Or
they'll go for someone else. They will. It's timings. You have timings. You've got to make opportunities. When it's your time, you've got to make it count. You see it go in circles. Teams like, look at Liverpool. They went 30 years, nearly 30 years without a title. A club like that, and then all of a sudden it comes round. Now, bang, they win trophies. They're there or thereabouts again. Man City. I remember I was at Wembley yesterday at Man City. I remember when they were needing to score against Gillingham. And look at it now. Like I walked out yesterday, and I'm walking behind the fans, and it was like, that's how it was. It was like there was
something next season.
Yeah, it was no devastation. It was like, and I'm thinking, well, I ain't sure about that. I think again that's turning. They're not going to win 16 games on the trot next year. And you've got to make it count. Man United were dominant. Look at them now. And I just think they have to make it count. And I think this is the last year. And before you know it, after that. I think people like Saka next year, if they don't win anything, will be going, wait there, I need to start winning stuff. I want to win trophies.
I see Arsenal and Liverpool. I think Manchester City have got a big rebuild. It's not going to be as easy for them as thinking that all of a sudden they're getting Rodri back and everything's going to be perfect again. It's going to be a lot more difficult than that. You've lost one of the best central midfield players in Premier League history that get you out of trouble time and time again in Kevin De Bruyne. It's very difficult to find those types of players. So I do feel that the two best sides again will be Arsenal and Liverpool next season.
Is there a worry or something that maybe that Arsenal need to balance when they're making decisions potentially at Christmas time next year, that Mikel Arteta has brought them this far, taken them from a team that wasn't challenging for the league title to a team that 3 seasons in a row has finished second, has qualified for the Champions League, reached the semi-finals for the Premier League and reached the semi-finals of the Champions League this season. Is there a danger that they interrupt that progress if they make a change, do you think?
I'm hoping. I expect them to be in the top 2 next season. I think it's only out of them and Liverpool again. But they will have to get over the line come what may. Yeah, it all depends who's around. They'll have to make that decision. You can't keep on. The fans will soon start getting fed up. And especially if Tottenham go and win Wednesday night. I'm not getting away from it.
This is the elephant in the room, isn't it? Is that they could end up, Spurs could end up this season having qualified for the Champions League and with a trophy. And yes, a much lower finish in the league in what's been a really difficult season for them. But you could argue, or you could certainly have a kind of pub argument about who's had the better season there.
You look at what you're saying, and you're saying, like, last season it was Arsenal and Man City. You're challenging Man City, and I think if you spoke to most people that started this season, they would have had Arsenal as finishing above Man City. Arsenal finishing above Man City. They've done that, but now Liverpool have overtaken them. So it's Arsenal and Liverpool. At some stage, you need to be the team. You need to be the team that wins it. And Arsenal, each year, great finish. Second 3 times, but after that, people want you to win it. You have to win something. You have to come back with something, and Arsenal still look away from doing that.
About, when you ask that question to Paul about stopping the progress, look what Arne Slot did in a year. He turned them into title winners. So it can happen. So look, I think Mikel is right. He's done so many good things at his club. They're short of a couple of players. It's been proven, but they do need a striker. Whatever way you dress it up, you can't say, because you'd rather have someone trying to finish the opportunities that they've missed this year. That that short of centre forward.
Tottenham winning a couple on Wednesday might just give them the lift they need.
Give who the lift they need? I'm not sure it's going to give Arsenal any kind of lift in terms of that. Look, if the league is bread and butter and the trophies are the jam, they've got the rice. And he's kind of the one who's managing to put the balls away. He's got record figures in terms of goals, in terms of assists. And he's the one who has been delivering when needed, with direct free kicks at times.
He's a top player. He's a top player. This is a brilliant guy. It's a brilliant pick out by Odegaard. Brilliant pick out, gets his head up. He's top drawer. And the biggest compliment I can give him, when was the last time ever anybody mentioned his price tag? And that's the biggest compliment. You don't get it with Caicedo now. Them two went for a lot of money. People were like, they're worth every penny. And he's a top drawer player. Turns up in big football matches, and he's always 7, 8 out of 10 every week. Very rarely you go, Declan Rice was non-existent today. He always gives everything. He's a prime example for anybody watching football, kids. he has an unbelievable attitude and he's a top player.
Love that strike as well. Look,
Yeah.
he's showing it there. Look, get that top spin on it. It's not an easy one. Anyone will tell you, when it's coming across you like that, making sure you can keep it down, not skying it, because it's easy. You just lean back a little bit. You've got to get your chest over the ball, and he does that so well. Lovely piece of play by Saka. You're right with the pick-up by Odegaard, but his technique is so good here.
It's a hard finish, James, because the most natural one is to go the other way, isn't it? To try and hit the net.
You're just trying to whip it as much as you can and just keep it down and hit the target, and it's a brilliant finish. But there's no doubt the 2 goals against Real Madrid have just given him that belief. Maybe if he hadn't scored those 2, he takes a touch, maybe plays it safe. It's good to see players shoot from outside the box.
Yeah.
Indumentaria, la Kings Limited Gold Edition. Solo hay 50 unidades de todos los equipos y también puede ser vuestra entrando en kingsleague.pro. Así que es los datos a tener en cuenta en cuanto a indumentarias. Gran partido, Gonzalo, Gerard, el que tenemos por delante.
Ojo, estilo La Bombonera, estadio de River.
Hostia, más minutos de retraso en el inicio, ¿eh? Ya tenemos lío.
Lo llamó Edo, dibujando la parábola sobre la banda derecha, donde en el vértice del área aparece Nadir. ¡Nadir para adentro! ¡Gol! De Nadir Lua, que tiene una facilidad pasmosa. Encuentra a Pablo, que balón para Nadir para el segundo. Se zafa de Cócera, es un golazo. ¡Es un golazo! Señoras, señores, bienvenidos al show de Nadir Lua. Pibe.
El mejor.
Vamos
haciendo
a ver.
espionaje, ¿eh? Vaya mierda dado, pibe. Va, ya te puedes ir a la cúpula a comer, va.
Tiene que salir Cócera para entregar hacia el centro. Se la regala Coy, le puede pegar Coy para adentro.
Vaya chicha, no.
¡Gol! De Porcinos, Óscar Coy. Ah, pues sí.
Tony, tienes brazalete volante.
Pero es que, señores,
Que no te lo dije, hombre.
Tenemos, comodín, ¿cómo lo usamos? Penalti.
Penalti.
Venga, será penalti.
Vamos, Cuni.
Puede meter en el partido a Cuni. Jordi para adentro, ¡qué golazo!
¡Guau!
¡Dios!
¡Gol! Vamos con Nadir Lua y con Laura Vizcaíno.
Pues sí, Nadir, 2 goles, victoria y a cuartos, enhorabuena.
Sí, sabíamos que el partido iba a ser muy importante porque veníamos de una muy mala dinámica. El equipo ha estado bien, sufríamos defensivamente y creo que hemos estado muy juntitos. Y nada, primer objetivo cumplido.
Os espera Science, rival complicado, imagino.
Sí, empatamos contra ellos y en shootout perdimos. Ha quedado segundo por algo. Nada, concentración, confianza con nosotros mismos y intentar ganar para el sábado estar en el Wizzing.
Os lo veremos mañana, mucha suerte.